Agree that
Cannot go.
he's been terrorized and the approach is possibly high-handed?
Too high-handed.
Asari arrives at this conclusion. Listen, there was an initial negotiation around this. The OSP at the time wasn't given any documentation. It's the same situation we find ourselves in. I would have called the OSP irresponsible if without a medical report from a facility, and I come from a biochemical medical background, so I understand the kind of documentation you would expect. It cannot be somebody just writes something which has no letterhead, has no logo, and says this is a situation and you run with it. That can't happen. And so when they asked for further and better particulars, you needed to provide the medical report that goes from diagnosis to the recommendation on what should be done and guarantees that, okay, this is the recuperation area. That has not been done. And don't forget that it was Kenneth Reta and his team that negotiated to 2nd June. Now, the question on my mind, and for which reason I think Ms. Ansasari's position of terrorism is far-fetched, is that in between February 2025 and the June 2nd date, why didn't the lawyers keep the special prosecutor updated? I mean, it seems like they were being taken for granted that, I mean, they could just wait till any point and then say, unfortunately, he can't show up, without yet providing the medical report that justifies or supports the position they've taken. And so if you suddenly write a letter on the 28th of May saying he can't come for such and such reason, and that letter still did not have supporting documentation from any medical facility, what option did you leave the special prosecutor? I see no terrorism here. I think it's just an institution trying to do its professional job based on the evidence available. And Mr. Ansasari himself said that usually this is about evidence. So in my mind, if there is evidence provided that credibly shows that this is the state, because the question on our minds is that the earlier communication suggested that this surgical intervention would be done, was it March or April? And that he needed about, was it 2 months for recuperation? And that's why they fixed the 2nd June. How come when the surgical intervention did not happen, that was not reported? How come there's been silence till 4 days to his own negotiated date? And why should anyone expect that a very important state entity like the special prosecutor should take it for granted when on the 28th of May, they receive a letter that still doesn't have supporting evidence, credible one for them to validate the situation of the person involved? I think that there's no terrorism here.
Yeah,
I think that the OSP is doing a professional job. I think that they left the OSP with no choice but the actions that have been taken. And they need to remedy what it is. I don't think it's too late in the day if evidence is provided that can be validated. And that's something that the lawyers ought to have facilitated long ago.